Okay, so that was a hit. So whenever the wind's not blowing, I'm making hits. Just underneath. Okay. Oh, just over the top of it. Alright, welcome back, guys. Today we are going to be talking about this optic right here specifically. This one, as you can see right here, assuming it'll focus. There it goes. So this is the DiscoveryOpt HT 3-12 40SF. So that's all the model numbers. A lot of jargon just to basically say this is their budget version of their 3-12 power scope. So one of the things, assuming this will focus, that I like about this scope is the price. So all of their other optics, which I have kind of over here kind of as a comparison, and I'll talk about kind of the pros and cons of those versus this. But one of the differences between those is the cost. So that one right now is actually their LPVO, and it's like their HD series. So it actually has incredibly clear glass. If you watch my primary arms 6x magnifier video, you can see some footage through that. Just kind of still shots of distance, and the glass on that thing is incredibly clear, and it right now is like $75 or $80 I think on Amazon, which is insane. Like if you want an LPVO and you don't necessarily need it to work as a red dot, like say you have an offset red dot or a red dot mounted on top, or you just want to use this as like a DMR setup, this scope is phenomenal, especially for $80. I think it was selling originally for like $200, $250, somewhere in that range. So the fact that it's $80 right now, just go buy one. You won't regret it. The glass on that thing is ridiculously nice. So that aside, again, that one's like $80 right now. This one, I think, if you can find it, I don't think it's on Amazon right now. This is their other 3-12, but it's their nicer model. It's their HD, I believe. Yeah, it's their HD as well. It's somewhere around $200. It's like $190, somewhere in that range. But if you're looking for a good budget option, this one is definitely one to look at. And there are other cheaper ones, on the market. You can buy your $40, Walmart specials that are out there, or you could buy something, like this. This is a UTG, I believe it says UTG somewhere on here. Yep, there it is. So this is a UTG 1-inch scope that I've had for a long time, and this one's just a 3-9, I believe. Yep, 3-9. And it's, for the price, back whenever I bought it, it was like $80, I think. And it came with rings and everything else, and it's illuminated, and it has locking turrets. They're a little funky, but they are technically locking turrets. And this, for the price, has, decent glass. It's nothing compared to, this one right here, that one over there. But, for $80, it wasn't bad. But now, this one is like $125 or $130, I think, last I saw, which, to me, it's not worth it. I would much rather have this right here. You get, just slightly less magnification, but it's a way clearer optic. Or, spend an extra $50 and you can get something like this that, in my opinion, is just phenomenal. This is probably my favorite, small scope that I've used to date. I say small, like an AR-15 sized optic. That's probably my favorite to date, as long as you don't want 1X. You don't want an LPVO. This is a good option. So to this one, they cut a lot of corners in order to save cost on this one, and I have mixed feelings on some of them, and then others I thought were fine and I don't think are an issue. The biggest problem, I'll just kind of go over the biggest negative right now. So let me see if I can even show you. I took pictures of this. I'll insert them below. You'll be able to see. There's no illuminated reticle, which honestly I don't really care on a budget scope. Yeah, this one's illuminated, but it's kind of wonky, and it illuminates the entire thing, which is, I don't know, kind of obnoxious. If you need an illuminated reticle, look elsewhere. It does have a weird little removable, this is like their logo, but it's like a cap. And I don't know what the purpose of this is. It's almost like a battery storage compartment, but there's obviously no battery in there, and it's just solid. So, I guess you could put like a spare battery for, maybe your red dot if you have an offset red dot or something on this, or you could just put, a lens cleaning cloth or, something in there, or just get rid of it entirely if you don't want it. That's completely sealed. There's nothing getting in there. I just thought that was kind of weird. I don't know. They could save another, few dollars by not having to mill this piece specifically, or just make this solid. But anyways, that's there. The other way they save costs, as you can tell right here, I don't know if you can hear that. But this piece right here, the little adjuster for the magnification, and then the turrets themselves are actually made of plastic. So I don't know if you can see that on there, but they are plastic. They are not metal, which is kind of unusual. I don't know that I've seen a scope do that. So another issue I have with the scope, I mean, it's not really an issue, but the problem with the plastic turrets, I mean, I guess longevity might be a concern, but obviously for $100, I mean, that's honestly not that big of a deal. And they seem to be, you know, well made. They don't feel cheap or anything. So I don't think that's a negative. But that is a way they cut cost. The adjuster on here works just fine. It focuses to my eye. It does come with a longer scope ring or shade, whatever you want to call it, that screws into the end. And it comes, you know, obviously with scope caps, and it comes with these little rings, which are a little cheap, but they work fine. You can obviously upgrade if you want to, but it comes with it. And this is a, you know, sub $100 optic, so I don't really see the point of buying nice rings for something like this. If you lift up, they are locking turrets, so you lift up to unlock, and then obviously it won't turn whenever you do, and then your parallax, you know, for the yardage or meters is over here. The reticle is a Milrad style reticle, which is not that big of a deal, but it's really, really thin, and again, I'll show you pictures, and because it's so thin, it's hard to see whenever you're aiming at things on lower power magnification. Whenever you crank it up to 12, you can see it fine, but it's still a little smaller than I would like to see. Now, granted, these back here, the reticle is just slightly larger than I would like it, so, you know, if they could make something that's kind of in between these two, that would probably be perfect. But again, those are illuminated, so you need kind of a larger reticle to, you know, bounce off of that etched glass to where it shows up well, so I get why they did that. So that's just a small complaint. But on this one, on 3X, it's almost unusable because that reticle is so small and thin. Now, if you're going for a really precise sight picture and your background is like white or, you know, something lighter in color where you can see that contrast, then it's fine. But if you're aiming at something that's darker or like a black target or something, you're not going to see that reticle. So that's kind of a complaint, but like for hunting or something, you'd be fine, you know, kind of a bright field or whatever. There it is. So again, you can see this kind of the bad eye box, so. But that's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. And again, my camera does not do it justice, but that's 600 yards. It looks way clearer than that in person, but that should give you kind of a general idea of what the crosshair looks like. I probably wouldn't be using this on 3X just because that reticle is so small, but once you zoom in, it obviously gets bigger. Let's see if I can do that on camera. There we go. Look at that camera work. Would you just look at that? All right, well, there you go. The turrets themselves, though, they are, if you look on here, you can see they're 4th MOA adjustments. Whenever you turn it, they are very audible and tactile, very solid turrets. I don't have an issue with those. They did not cheap out on those. Again, they just cheaped out basically on material and the other for, you know, parts like this. And then the other part that they kind of went lower costs on to save money, to lower the cost, was the glass itself. It needs to go up by a lot. 4th MOA. Now the glass clarity, and again, I'll insert photos so you can see it. The glass clarity is okay, and for the price, it's fine. I would say it's on par with this UTG scope. If you ever shot out on one of these, like these, before I ever, you know, had a chance to shoot nicer glass, that larger scope that I have over there, which I'm not getting right now, but it has phenomenal glass, better than my SWFA scope that I sold had. And the glass on this, you know, before I knew better, was fine, and it was adequate, and I could shoot out to, you know, probably 500 yards and not really have an issue. The problem with cheaper glass like this one is around the edge of the reticle, and you might be able to see this again in the photos I insert. It's kind of like blurry around the outer 25% of the glass, which you're not really using, but situational awareness, and it's just kind of obnoxious. And again, because with that one and that one, you don't get that. Versus with this one right here, you kind of get the same thing. It's lower quality glass, so the outer 25% of the ring is kind of like, as you move, it kind of gets blurry, or kind of moves. The center of the reticle, the inner 75% of the glass, reticle is fine. So it's definitely usable. But this is not going to be the shoot out to 1,000 yards optic, because the glass isn't clear enough for that. You can still read. I could read the distance markers on all the berms out to around 700 yards. I could not read the 810 yard. I mean, I knew what it said because I know what it says, but I couldn't read it just through here because it wasn't clear enough. Now that said, the light transparency, or whatever you want to call that, how much light it gathers, is actually really good. It actually looks brighter than the environment around it. So like, it takes in plenty of light, and the image is bright. It's just you get a little bit of that blurriness around the edges of the glass. So if that matters to you, then maybe look elsewhere. But again, for less than $100, I think it's a better deal than this UTG, for instance, and just because of all the the turrets and everything it has on there. The reticle on this one is actually thicker. It's too thick. But between the two, I actually like the reticle on this one better, but I like all the features and everything else on this one better. Like the turrets are significantly better than this one. It's more magnification. I don't like how this turns up at the front, and also this is another $30-$40 more expensive, which to me, it's not worth that. Maybe back in the day it was, but right now it's not. Let me see what it looks like on lower magnification. Still get that distortion, so definitely not as nice as their nicer options. Now that said, for $100, I would say, at least as of right now, it's on par with like the UTG and all the other budget options. All right, let's see here. Oh yeah, that's way better. Clear when you're directly behind it, but you can definitely tell it's not as clear glass. Now that said, it actually looks clearer and has less distortion the higher magnification. Also, since it's the first focal plane, on the lowest magnification setting, it's kind of hard to see the crosshair. It's usable. But I would like it to be a little bit thicker, or have some sort of reference point. Like a thicker crosshair around the outside. But then in the middle, where the actual center of the reticle is, it could be thin there. Now that said, it has a very precise, tiny dot right in the center, which was one of my criticisms of the LPVO that they make. Now, granted, on the LPVO, like, it makes sense because you're technically using it as a red dot as well. But this one, you wouldn't be using as a red dot; you'd be using the actual red dot. But if you're looking for something that's under $100 that you don't mind, dealing with a little bit of lower quality glass, which again, I'm kind of a glass snob now that I've used nicer stuff. But if you don't have a really expensive, glass or optics, you're going to think this is really clear and you're going to love it. So it all depends on what you've used, in the past, kind of thing. It's more than adequate to shoot out to. I was shooting at 500 yards this past weekend, and I was able to make consistent hits. Now, granted, you'll see in the video footage, it's so windy. The wind gusts were like 20-mile-an-hour winds, gusts, something like that. It was enough where I couldn't keep the gun or myself from moving while I was trying to shoot, so my accuracy suffered a little bit, but I was still making solid hits out to 500 yards fairly easily because the reticle was so small. Again, for me, what I would set this up with is maybe if you had like a 22, or you had a couple like a hunting AR or something like that, where you don't want to spend a whole lot of money, and it's not an expensive setup. Because again, you don't need expensive, nicer scopes, which that one's not expensive, but it's nice. You don't need expensive, nice things on all of your guns. You can buy some budget stuff because not every gun needs expensive things. You need to have a couple that are like your go-tos with nice stuff on them, but everything else, especially if you have like kids or just backups or, just kind of fun range toys, this is more than adequate for a range toy. What I will say though, before I end the video, is like my preference, again, this one is my favorite. if you can find that. This one I actually bought an Aero Precision mount for because I like it so much. This one has a Burris. It's the PEPR. I don't remember what that stands for. But it's their quick detach mount. And it's super heavy, but this optic is super heavy, so, you know, kind of goes together. This would probably be my next best choice. And if you're going just based on budget for the, like, you know, value for the dollar, this thing right here is what you want to get. Again, $80. This is a no-brainer. I'd go buy this right now. This is if you want a little bit more magnification and you don't mind getting a little bit less quality glass. But all the other features on it are pretty much fine. And it comes with, you know, all the goodies in the box. But if you appreciate this kind of video, give us a like, subscribe. I would appreciate that. It really does help the channel. You know, you can share it, do whatever you want, watch on Rumble. It uploads some videos there sometimes, just whenever it feels like it. It's very temperamental. Anyways, hopefully you all appreciate this kind of video, and I hope you all have a good one.